Hi, everyone. It is still July 10, 2021. I am just going to read this one comment, and I look forward to getting your thoughts on this. Do you ever feel like just giving up and waiting for the full destruction? Maybe I'm just depressed, but I think at age 58, just let it happen and get this crap over with. Why try so hard to be prepared and then lose everything you stocked to protect yourself, I guess? Maybe I'm just depressed, but death can't come soon enough. If you're one of those that want to survive this, what are you surviving for? What kind of life are you going to live? Thoughts? Are you hoping that the evil people will be gone and you can start over like the good old days? Death does not look too bad at this point. Just come fast. Throughout the years, I am rather astonished by the suicidality that goes on in this country. More and more are open about just wanting to get out of here, just wanting to die. And, it's a depression, but it's also a hopelessness. Well, I don't even want to get into all of it because I'll be posting just talking videos. But what are you surviving for? Now, a lot of people have family when you have children, and those families are still intact. Yeah, it gives you reason to survive. There's an awful lot of people who have literally no one. And this is something that I've thought about. I don't have any reason to survive. None. I have no family. I have no friends. I have no children. I have 4 cats, and I've been surviving for them. But surviving life every single day gets very exhausting. And it begins to have a detrimental effect on your overall well-being, physically, mentally, psychically, spiritually, everything. And do understand this. What you are experiencing in life, not everyone is experiencing your life. And there's an awful lot that goes on in people's lives that they don't want to talk about for fear of judgment or, being shamed. They may feel the shame themselves and just don't, they would much prefer to just not speak what they're really going through. That unfortunately comes about through social engineering, how we have actually engaged in the social engineering of one another. Oh, we talk about the elite social engineering, the masses. How about our own social engineering? Shutting people up by, just saying, oh, you've got to be positive. Or, I'll pray for you. Or whatever, oh, you just think of yourself as a victim. We don't really listen to one another. And if something, is being talked about and somebody doesn't want to hear it, they have a myriad ways of shutting them down. Yes, we silence one another. It's not good. It's not good. Especially for those who need help. Trust has been obliterated. And boy, you have a trusting relationship in your life. Well, that in itself could be reason to survive. But with trust obliterated, there's no real connection that you have. It's really unfortunate that we have focused on our material well-being to the expense of everything else. What is most important, and you really do get to know this as you get older and older, your relationships, your friendships, your family, a closeness and a connection with one another. Without that, life can become a very hard thing to survive. So, yeah, in part, it's depression. I'll speak for myself. In part, it's depression, but it's also recognizing reality. So I don't know this person who left this comment, but my hunch is that they see a reality of not a happy future coming. And while a lot of people have their beliefs, and, that belief may be enough to sustain their life until they die, okay, but not everyone has the same belief. And just because you have a belief that works for you does not mean that it's the truth. I know that upsets a lot of people. So, life is definitely getting harder. There are still some subscribers that I know are okay. They have family, they have resources, they have finances, they're not suffering any of the consequences of what has taken place, not even throughout the pandemic, because they were essential. But I do know, and I've said this just recently, in the 12 years that I've been posting, when I first started posting, I didn't know one subscriber, not one, who, and I'm not saying that no one out there wasn't suffering any consequences. I didn't hear from them on my channel. Throughout the years, the number has only increased. They've lost their home due to flooding, due to fires. They found out the hard way that those they thought they could count on weren't there. They found out, either through getting sick or losing a job and not being able to find another job, that their friends really were not friends. More and more betrayed by people who they thought they could trust, and they found out that they couldn't because of lying. And more have been leaving comments, talking about how utterly alone they are. Some still have family in their life and, friendships, but they're not on the same, they're not like-minded, so they can't talk to them about what's happening. And while that's painful and it hurts, those who are completely alone, who literally have no one, they have no outlet, they have nothing. And I'm getting that there's more and more of them. Estrangement in family, children, adult children cutting off their parents so they don't even see their grandchildren. It's a sorry state that we are in. Let's just say that. It's a sorry state. But when you have no one, when you have no point to your existence, when you're not needed by anyone, surviving is for what? So I just want to say to the person who wrote this, I completely understand. And I've asked myself over and over, and I've even asked subscribers, what are you surviving for? Especially those who have put so much energy into surviving, if that shit hits the fan, based on a whole lot of people, thinking, oh my God, the economy is just, we could just go on endlessly like this. The incremental destruction, more and more people going off the cliff every single day. And a whole lot of people who are still fine, ignoring it. They don't want to look because they don't want to do anything, to help them or to, do anything. They fear, oh my God, I'm going to be going off the cliff soon. Yeah, you will. You will. But this could be, and I've said this years and years ago, when there was an awful lot of talk about SHTF. I said we could just go on. And the destruction could be big, actually, in some places, and we would never know. Unless we have those people on the ground doing, the documenting of what's happening and then posting it for all of us to see. But now I will say that they are ramping up. It just feels like every single day they're accelerating all of these agendas. And yes, I understand that, many people leave comments about the fall. The fall. October is going to be the big surprise month. Well, I could see that. Absolutely. But the loss of trust in our country, the division that seems to be greater and greater every single day, with far greater hostility, anger, and in many people, pure hate. The violence, the crime, everything kind of exploding. Yeah, I could see. Yeah, let's just say that how we are living, what we have manifested here, is not sustainable. But I would say that the biggest factor in those who feel like this, who just, I'm done. Why do you want to survive? When they start thinking that way, I'd say the biggest factor is a loss of close, trusting relationships, friendships, family. Because that's where the joy comes from. That's what sustains us. When you don't have that, and you survive for a long time, you begin to understand how it literally depletes you. Surviving every single day, just it's something that you begin to notice the effect on your own self. And I think also a lot of people are really feeling the physical effects of what's going on. I've spoken to subscribers who, they're 65, they have no one. They might have an elderly parent that they're caring for, but they start thinking, who's going to care for me? What's going to happen when I get elderly? Now, I know for my own self, I'm going to have to make hard decisions at some point. I hope that I don't, well, let's just say timing has not been my forte. But I don't want to fall sick, have a stroke, whatever, and then my life becomes a burden on somebody else's life. And I think about that a lot. So, there are circumstances that people live that are very different from, circumstances that you may live or somebody else. And their circumstances are really hard, to just deal with on a daily basis. Everybody, well, it's a scale, it's a range, it's a spectrum, it's a continuum. And some have it better, some have it harder, actually the majority fall in between those two states. And you do need to have very let's say thoughtful conversations with yourself about, all right, what is this future going to look like for your own self? I ain't going into any state nursing home. And that's actually what scares me the most. That I don't get out of here before something like that happens. And hell for me would be having a stroke that leaves me paralyzed, unable to talk, but I still can think. Now that would hurt. Oof. But I will tell you, I hurt every single day. Every day now. It has been a very painful time. I am, pretty much completely isolated. And no one to talk to, really. My life drastically changed. So, and I do have to post that video about all of the things that people need to think about if they're thinking of moving. So anyway, there is the SHTF moment that apparently, we've been waiting for years for that economy to finally go bust and everybody's, there's so many different things that are taking place right now that could just spin Americans so out of control. And I think most of you recognize that we now live in a very dysfunctional society, a violent society, an angry society. So, the triggers for something, so out of control There's many of them. Certainly a EMP attack, which may very well happen. The hackers, those cyber attacks. You checking out mainstream media because that's your enemy, and you just want to kind of check them for the headlines? Wow, aren't we having a whole lot of those cyber attacks? So you have the simulation, what was it, Polygon? I can't remember the first. Wow. Something Polygon. Where they're having, very similar to Event 201, the simulation about, oh my God, a pandemic takes over the world. And that was only, 2.5 months before, that pandemic took over the world. Well, now the World Economic Forum and, and a whole lot of other players are simulating. And I think it was already, was it the 9th? Simulated a cyber attack that also, a virus unlike that pandemic. That pandemic, the lockdowns and all that, well, that was the picnic for, in comparison to what the World Economic Forum is saying could happen. Well, that may very well happen. So an awful lot of people, who are doing everything to survive this, I hope you're thinking of every possibility that exists, because without that and preparing for that, if we do have this grid go down and it lasts for even just a week, we're going to see and experience what we've been bringing to the world: chaos. Let's just say Americans will not be living comfortably anymore. A whole lot are not. There's still some who are. We're not. I leave the 1% or even the 10% out of the equation, because they will be fine. The rest, not. Are you preparing to survive? And yes, I say prepare. I'm speaking to those who have reason. I'm speaking to those who have resources. When I say, and I'm speaking to those who don't think like me, because you don't live the circumstance I do. But what really is there, to survive outside of having children, really, at this point? You brought them into the world. They are your responsibility. But it's a good question. So I'd love to hear from you guys. And thoughts right here is something that this person who commented would love to have from you. Thoughts. What kind of life are you going to live? Because none of this is going to be over soon. That's for sure. I know a lot are waiting for Jesus to come and make everything right. Okay. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all for listening, for your support. Ciao, guys.